Toyota has released the new LandCruiser 250, also called the LandCruiser Prado. And there are a few issues, and there is a bit of a concerning nature to that car, and I want to discuss that today. Welcome back, guys. You find me today in my Toyota GR Yaris, and I've owned a bunch of different cars, and if you watch my page, you know that I'm not about Toyota, for example. You know, I owned a BMW before. I've owned a bunch of Japanese cars. I love Hondas. I learned to drive on a K24 Honda Accord. I've owned Suzuki. Overall, we do enjoy our Toyotas, right? My mom's got a RAV4. My second Toyota is a hybrid Corolla Cross. My dad's always driven Hiluxes, right? And he's about to sell his Hilux, or he sold it, I think, for a LandCruiser 250, the new LandCruiser Prado. So I think this was a good opportunity really to discuss the LandCruiser 250, what I think about it, but also some concerning things I'm seeing online. So first of all, I live in Australia. And in Australia, guys, reliability is very big for these cars, right? Australia is mostly barren land, mostly desert. It's only the coastal areas that are populated to a big extent. Melbourne, Sydney, Perth. A lot of these places are just around the coast near the water. In the middle, it's just hot and it's sandy. We call it the outback. And because of that, there is a very big focus on reliability. Vehicles need to perform for the Australian terrain. And because of that, many manufacturers, they'll build their cars and then they'll bring them here and test them to Australian conditions. In fact, that's how stringent some of the requirements are in Australia, not from a legal perspective per se, but really from the perspective of what people are looking for. And if you go into the outback and if you go into some of those remote places, all you'll find are Toyotas. LandCruiser cars have been a big thing for Australians. It's often called LandCruiser country. And if you go into the outback, you go into those places, you'll find all the old LandCruisers, all the new ones, it's what they're running. You're not going to find BMW X5 or Range Rover or Land Rover or Audi Q5 or Q7, any of those cars. Yes, you will find the likes of Nissan Patrol, some of those other competitors, but overall, LandCruiser and Hiluxes and Toyotas are really the winner. And because of that, whenever a new LandCruiser comes out, it's a really big deal, right? And over Toyota's history, Toyota's been a very conservative brand. Current market trends have required them to evolve, right? A lot of brands have come out and have eaten Toyota's cake. Volkswagen came here with their Utes, which are these light trucks. Volkswagen came here with the VW Amarok. That cut Toyota's cake. Ford Ranger has just gotten better and better, and that's got Toyota's cake. And then there's the Ford Everest, which also to some extent competes with the Toyota Prado. Then Isuzu's come out. Nissan's always been a strong competitor. Mitsubishi, in recent years hasn't really been upgrading their cars that much. They had the Pajero Sport, which wasn't a really strong competitor, but overall, you can easily make the case that Toyota, they need to innovate, right? They've been pushed by the market to really innovate because people sit in these cars and they look at the interiors, right? I sat in the Ford Ranger the other day, and I often drive my dad's Hilux, and I sat in that Ranger and I was blown away by the perceived quality, right? When you touch the materials, display, the way the dash is designed, it's levels above the Toyota Hilux. And because of that, Toyota's really backed into a corner and they've innovated, right? My Corolla Cross, which is just in front of me there, has a very big tablet-like screen, right? And I would say it's bigger than the BMW that I own. And guys, it is so glitchy. I just haven't taken it back to the dealership because I don't have time to drive it there and then pick up a loan car and have them. So I'm just waiting for my next service to have that issue resolved, but it's very glitchy. It's got Apple CarPlay, wireless, and plugged in, and it doesn't want to, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've factory reset it, done a bunch of stuff. And that's stuff that just didn't exist on older Toyotas. My GR Yaris, for example, has an older platform. That issue doesn't exist in this car. Part of the reason is because it's such a dinosaur of a platform. Real dinosaur of a platform. If you look at the gauges here as well, no electronic gauges at all. There's this little center screen, but even that is, switch it on here, pretty basic as far as gauges go. So that's what Toyota's really been like for a lot of that time, and now they're innovating and they're facing problems that everyone has dealt with. My BMW had a bunch of electronic issues, no doubt because they were just so far ahead in the game, and Toyota's just not been known for the electronic issues that the German cars have. And a huge part of it is because Toyota stuck to old tech, right? Even when they went with the Toyota Supra, which is effectively a BMW product, Toyota made sure to use the older gen of iDrive, right? Because they weren't super confident on the newer gen in terms of kinks that have been worked out. So that's been sort of Toyota in a nutshell. But now, guys, market trends have changed. You sit in that new Ranger, you sit in these new cars, especially the Germans, and you think, why buy Toyota? You think that way because people are changing their cars very often. Before, it was really the Germans that were leasing machines, right? The majority of German cars are leased. Now it's a lot of these Japanese cars are leasing or just owned during warranty periods, and people just want to trade up. People change their houses in Australia on average every 8 years, which is ridiculous, and they change their cars a little bit sooner as well. So what do you do when you're a brand like Toyota, right? Do you build those boring, reliable, tested cars, which no one seems to want anymore, apart from a few people, or do you build something that's able to compete with the likes of Ford and Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes, BMW, even Honda? Well, the choice is clear. I wanted to discuss that because I think that's the ethos of a lot of the newer Toyota cars. That's the direction they've taken. I sat in the new LandCruiser Prado and I was blown away by how good it looked. It even beats the Germans in terms of the look and the appeal. It's beautiful inside, has the big screens, has the big displays. When you sat in older Toyotas, you could feel that the product was a generation behind the entire competition. That's how it's always been. I've always enjoyed that charm. I've owned Toyotas for a long time. I've driven them for work. Before my Corolla Cross, I had a Camry. They want longevity. But now when I sit in new Toyotas, I'm thinking, ooh, they've done this because they value innovation. By default, you're not going to get longevity. It leads me into the LandCruiser Prado or the LandCruiser 250. There's two cases that I've seen, especially in Australia. So the first case was suspension failure. Driving on the gravel, I believe it was their front left suspension that failed. They didn't seem to be doing anything weird or anything risky. It was just drive on a gravel road, which a Prado, that's what it's made for, right? That's what a LandCruiser is made for. And their suspension failed. Really, the concerning part out of that was the amount of time it requires to rectify that issue, because the components now used in this car are so new, so revised that the wait times are massive. So I think that's sort of a big detractor to these cars, where you're always going to have a level of failure, and I think it happens in any Series 1 car, any car, right? You're going to have a bit of failure. LandCruiser and these vehicles have always been about having something that's tried and tested, and if something breaks, which, guys, don't get me wrong, LandCruisers break, right? I know many owners, and of course when you're doing off-roading and putting them through the paces, axles snap and stuff happens. But a lot of it's been about being able to replace those parts. There's actually a legend, LandCruiser owners would know about this. It's been unconfirmed by Toyota, but it's been hinted enough times where apparently the original LandCruisers were built to last 25 years, where they would last this period of time and you could maintain them using basic tools. I don't think that's the ethos any longer. If you need parts, you were able to get those parts in Australia and everywhere. They were just the same thing they've been using for decades, and now it's not the case. So I think that's the very first thing. That suspension break happening, does that concern me? That's one case, guys, out of it doesn't really concern me. It's always, you can always find those cases. There's always a Toyota on fire or something happening. So I don't think that concerns me, right? What does concern me is the availability of parts when that stuff happens. The second case is actually more concerning to me, and that was Peculiar, because Car Sales, which is a car selling platform, but they also do reviews now, were testing a vehicle. They were taking it through water, and every car has a weighting depth. They were below Toyota's weighting depth, the depth that it was rated for, but they were going quite fast through it, right? You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take it at a relaxed speed effectively. And what happened is that water got into the engine bay near the air filter area, and it fried the 48-volt mild hybrid system. And that's really concerning. And Toyota basically came back and said it's operator error. And that's concerning to me as well. And Toyota's done this a couple of times. Toyota USA's made statements like this about the GR Corolla. There was that fire. Toyota's response is a bit concerning, but also the fact that water can get into the engine bay and cause a failure. For a car, that's really built on being able to tackle those off-road conditions, be in the middle of nowhere in the Australian outback. For a car like that to have that occur, concerning to me. Both of those things, Toyota's response and for that to occur. I don't quite understand how it happened, because if you're doing a car wash, you're going to get water ingressing somehow, right? If you do a pressure wash, I'm sure people wash their engines. So I don't get how water near the air filter area can get to your mild hybrid system and fry your car. I don't quite understand how it occurred, what the logic was there. Toyota's response is definitely concerning. You can blame Toyota in a way and not blame them. Blame Toyota because their responses have been not great. If BMW does something wrong, we're all expecting. Okay, I'll be the first one defending BMW. I'm coping all the time. I'll say, look, it's an M car. They're made for performance. They're made to go fast. They're not meant to be reliable. I'm going to be there defending it. When something like that happens to a Toyota, I'm not defending Toyota. There's that extra level that Toyota needs to have. Toyota can make a car that's faster than a BMW and everything, right? But it cannot be less reliable. It has to be better in terms of performance and more reliable. That's just the onus on Toyota. That's what they've built their reputation on. Toyota is in a difficult place where we expect reliability from them, and in some cases they're not providing that premier level reliability. And then they have these responses, these PR responses. Who's the PR person? They come back at you and say, operator error, we built this Toyota. Well, you know, that does seem like operator error, right? You're not meant to run through a big water body at a large speed. You're supposed to take it easy. Anyone knows that, right? So, okay, that is operator error, sure. I need something more, Toyota, right? I need you to say, look, this is operator error, but we will investigate further and make improvements. Or we would suggest if you are doing these heavy water activities, please add these modifications. And those levels of modification, any person who does off-roading will add anyways. But to hear that from Toyota would be reassuring. But instead, Toyota just provides these little responses, and I'm not putting Toyota on blast. I own 2 Toyotas, and I'll probably replace my other Toyota with another Toyota. Probably my GR Yaris will be replaced with a GR Corolla or maybe a Honda Civic Type R or something. Parents are getting Toyota, so I'm a huge Toyota fan. You have to be real in the sense that they need to respond to these things a bit better. You can't just Toyota, you can't just say operator error or you caused this issue. So that's where I think it's Toyota's fault. Where it's not Toyota's fault, guys, is the market demands. Guys, when the market says we're going to be changing our car every 4 years or every 5 years, where's the point in a manufacturer building that car to last 25 years? It doesn't make sense. That market is, the long-term market's very niche. There's very few people these days, they don't own old cars, right? I mean, I own an under warranty GR Yaris. Reliability shouldn't even be a concern for me. It doesn't matter. The majority of market, they just want stuff to work within their warranty or lease period, which a Toyota is going to be just about as good as any car. Alfa Romeo even, you know, Fiat, maybe not a Fiat, but most cars out there within their warranty period of 5 years or so are going to be pretty much bulletproof, right? And that's what the market wants. They want that, and they want some tech, and they want some looks, they want some performance. The market by far is not asking for 25-year lasting Toyotas. There are a few people, right? The Australian Outback, that's such a minority. With my dad's example, he's loved the LandCruiser Prado. He's never been off-roading. He's never going to go off-roading. He's probably just going to drive that car to recreationally somewhere, take it to the shops, go visit his friends. That's it. And I think most use purposes are similar, right? Moms dropping their kids off to school, or you taking a road trip, which even a regular Yaris can manage. Light dirt roads, you don't need a Prado for that. But that's the people who are buying Prados. The majority of them are not in the Outback. Is it my wish that Toyota stays the reliable Toyota that it always was? Of course it's my wish. You know, I'm a fan. Even if I don't own a Toyota long term or I replace it with a Honda, I'll always have that respect for Toyota and what they accomplished, because I think for me, owning Toyota cars has been great. Feeling inside that this is gonna last, even if you don't keep it outside of warranty, you have that feeling it's gonna last. I don't get that same feeling with Toyota anymore. Even though I continue to buy them and the residuals are good and the cars are good, I like the overall ethos, and I still think they're above the other manufacturers reliability-wise, but I don't get the feeling that Toyota is as well built as it once was. I don't think it's just a feeling. I do believe it's a reality. And look, overall, I would still take the LandCruiser Prado over any of the Ford offerings, probably any of the Nissan offerings. I would take it over any of the German offerings for sure. The likes of Range Rovers, reliability, longevity-wise, it's going to be ahead, but it's not the Toyota of old. I'll catch you next time.